Welcome to the Bookers Alliance podcast, where we hold the pencil and the pencil is power. Coming at you right now is your host, Marky Mark, along with the man, the myth, the legend, Frank Donaldson. Join us as we discuss the ever-changing landscape of professional wrestling. So hang on tight, you jabronis, and enjoy the ride. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for joining today's episode of the Bookers Alliance podcast. Come on in the house, bring yourself up a ringside seat, get your popcorn, your sodas, get your whiskey, get everything you need, because this bus has the pedal to the metal for WrestleMania.
We're right around the corner now. I mean, the road, we've been traveling the road for a few months now. Damn, if we ain't right around the corner from it. I mean, we see the exit on the road, and it's like we just about ready to get off. But damn, you still got to get around this last corner.
We're spinning tires. We're drifting around the corners. We're doing everything we can to get this bus pulled up into that Las Vegas parking lot, because I got some money I need to burn at the blackjack table.
Well, if we get there Friday afternoon, we sit in traffic till damn Saturday night when it happens. There won't be no moving in the vehicles there, so the bus will be on fucking pause all week next week. So we can do our show live from the bus next week.
There we go.
Because we'll be just sitting there.
All right, let's talk about our sponsor real quick for today's episode. We got 10-year-old Russell's Reserve Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Ooh, that's a nice whiskey for today.
All right, let's not hold off no more. Let's get it in. We can toast it. We can toast after we get that first drink.
Cheers, sir. Ooh.
Ah, okay.
Nice.
Got some smoky flavor to it with the vanilla and
cinnamon and all kinds
honey.
of flavors.
Yeah, we got a lot going on in there.
Good whiskey. Thank you, Russell.
There you go. That. Now you can talk. Now you can prep it. I just had to get the first drink. Hell, we've been sitting here prepping for the last 10 minutes, and I ain't had a dry mouth. I needed something to get us through.
Yeah, Russell's 10 year. That's a good one, y'all. Go ahead and get that one from your local distribution center. There.
Yeah, unfortunately, if you're in North Carolina, you probably won't be getting it. ABC isn't gonna have it for you. But travel outbound, go online. You can find it.
All right, so. We got topic today. Controversial topic. Controversial title. Controversy breeds cash. Isn't that what?
Yeah, that's what they say. So we gonna test them limits today.
Conversation turned into bitch, please.
Please. That's what it's got to be sometimes.
But before we get there, I just gotta get something off my chest.
What? Hold on, I just need to know the subject of the matter.
I gotta get. It's got to be directed towards Tony.
Tony Schiavone?
Maybe him too.
Okay. Tony Kimmel?
Not Kimmel.
Tony who? What?
Tony Khan.
Oh, you're not going to talk about Dynasty, are you?
Yeah, I got to get something off.
Hold on. Bitch, please. Do we got to talk about that?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, hell.
We do.
All right.
Just for a minute.
All right, well, I'm going to take a break on this segment. I'm gonna hand the keys to the kingdom over to you now. You handle this segment. Chime me in if needed. Bitch, please.
Tony Khan, what the hell are you doing, man? What is going on with the booking over there in AEW? I don't understand it. I don't get it. It makes no sense that Swerve Strickland did not win that championship Sunday night. Absolutely no sense. We ain't seen that title belt in a month of Sundays. You have kept it locked up in this briefcase. Look, as gaudy as it is, I want to see it every now and then just to look at it.
True, but so first thing, rumor has it that Shad had repoed that belt because he's upset with Tony about the money that they're spending. So rumor had it that belt is on Hawk right now, so that's why they're using this whole briefcase gimmick. I feel like he told Tony, you got to generate X amount of profit to go get that thing out of Hawk. Yeah, so it's in Hawk right now. So until he generates X amount of profit or cashes in a trust fund or something like that, that belt may stay in Hawk. So you may be looking at a briefcase belt for a while.
Look, this is no slight on Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley, I'm never going to fault the wrestler, because the wrestling that you're doing, John, you're good in the ring. Yeah, I appreciate what you do, the hardcore style wrestling. Again, we talked about that in the archive. Go back a few episodes and listen. Does hardcore wrestling even have a place right now in today's wrestling landscape?
Well, the only reason it does is because of him. I mean, he's the only one still hanging out there, right, keeping it relevant.
Him and Spike.
Yep.
But listen, look, I don't get the whole Death Riders connectivity to the Young Bucks and why they decided to show back up and screw Swerve out of the title. Look, maybe I missed something. Maybe
that's because you ain't watching week in and week
maybe
out.
there is something lost in translation. Look, I know when the Young Bucks left, there was something about we got to get out of here. We got to take a break, and they were caught backstage shredding some papers. I don't know if they're trying to say, "Hey, we were connected to the Death Riders. Now we don't want to be." I don't know what all of that was about, but.
Well, remember when the Death Riders came out? What did they say? They told Tony Schiavone. They said, "Tony, this ain't your company anymore."
Right.
So I mean, if you're going to take over the company, what's it hurt to have 2 EVPs in your pocket?
Yeah, but
I mean, because I think they thought they had a benefactor, and I think that fell through. So now you gotta.
You think?
Yeah. Well, now you got to pop up with the. I mean, who's the only other person AEW related that we've seen XYZ benefactor with? I mean, he took a picture with Tony Khan, which was controversial. And he took a pic with the Bucks, right? So, I mean, there's only a little bit of connective tissue to string together to make this work. And I feel like they're grasping at every little bit of string they can get to try and sew this together. And I just think there's too many gaps and holes in it.
I think Daddy looked at him and said, "If you do this, I'm cutting you all the way out of the wheel."
Well, I mean, he'd already took the belt, so Lord, if he takes the whole company, then we might as well close up shop. So I think at this stage of the game, I feel like Tony's grasping at straws. If there's a method to his madness, he needs to hurry up and get to it. What'd you just say, poop or get off the pot a little bit?
Yeah.
At this stage of the game, if there's something that he's building to, go ahead and start getting us on that, on that path. Get us in that direction.
Yep.
Hanging around, throwing Swerve out there, it's something that he totally wasn't relegated in. I think when you originally told me Swerve was going to win the belt, I told you there's no way they're changing that belt, from one to the other until this briefcase nonsense is figured out. And we no closer to figuring out that nonsense than we were the first time we saw the briefcase, short of what I just floated out there, which is probably more true than not.
That's true.
But
that's true.
Nonetheless, nobody that challenges him is gonna, defeat him for that title until they figure out whatever this briefcase story is. And I'll be God's honest, I don't think they know what the briefcase story is. I think it started as something, and they realized that wasn't going to happen, and now they're painted into a corner and don't know how to get themselves out.
Either that or they just found a new maker and wanted a new belt, and they ain't got it yet.
It could be that. I mean, they're good for that. If you remember the TNT title, they brought that thing out when it was just a prototype.
But I do want to give some flowers real quick. The 2 matches, that was really, really, really well done. Kenny Omega, Speedball Mike Bailey, and Ricochet. That triple threat match was phenomenal. The pacing of it was what you expected from that, as far as that Omega Ricochet Speedball type fast style.
Yeah.
The pacing was great. The moves were great. The story that they told in the match was even great.
Okay.
There was no story surrounding the match.
Of course not.
But basically what you saw was Speedball Mike Bailey, Kenny Omega, they've tangled before.
Yeah.
Ricochet, Kenny Omega, they've tangled before.
Yeah.
All 3 of them in the ring together kind of put you in this is Kenny Omega, past, present, future. It's just kind of like.
Well, that's what Kyle Fletcher and what's the other guy's name?
Will Ospreay.
Yeah. That's what they are. So everybody's a Kenny Omega spawn at this point. That's all AEW's built on.
But Ricochet is actually starting to bloom in AEW, believe it or not. They're letting him get on the mic, which McMahon never would let him do because McMahon hated the way he sounded.
I get it.
I get it too, but
as I listen to him on the mic week in and week out, I'm not 100% sure that isn't the worst idea is not to let him get on the mic.
Speedball Mike Bailey is a breath of fresh air because he is doing moves that you really never seen before. He's very innovative. It kind of puts you in the mind of Too Cold Scorpio when he first bust on the scene back in the day.
Nice 30-year reference.
Right. So, I mean, that's kind of when I look at him, the only thing that don't make sense is the damn kick pads and the bare feet. I don't get it. It's an aesthetic thing.
Yeah, it seems like it's counterproductive there. Yeah. But so, obviously, I didn't even watch the pay-per-view. I had other stuff going on Sunday. We had LFG. That was more important than the pay-per-view to me. So, that is what it is. But let me ask you in regards to the match that you were just on, who came out with the W? Who won?
Kenny Omega.
No shit. And seriously, is that who won?
That's because of what they're ultimately getting to at All In. They're going for Kenny Omega versus Okada, and they're going to unify the international title and the continental title.
Are they going to make it the Intercontinental title?
They should.
They probably should, but if I was WWE, I'd sue the hell out of them just for that.
You know how many fans reference those titles anyway and call it the Intercontinental title?
I mean, I would. But so let me ask you a question. You take two young upstart talents and you got one EVP, and somehow or another he goes, oh, how's this any different than Vince McMahon WWE?
It's not any different. It's not.
Well, then it's ass.
Because you got Tony Khan booking it.
Well, then it's ass.
Yeah.
So the in ring, I'll never same as what you just said about John Moxley, right? I'll never discredit the workers because they did what they had to do in the ring, and apparently by your standards, they did it to a damn high standard, which is great. But the story around it and the result of it is ass, and that's all I'm giving it is ass.
The other match I want to talk about real quick. Megan Bayne and Tony Storm.
So now that's something I can sink my teeth into. Now, this sounds intriguing.
Megan Bayne. I don't know where you came from, but I'm glad you're here. She's freaking awesome. And
she feels like a fresher, newer Beth Phoenix.
She does.
Yeah.
She
Every
does.
time I see her, now as you see, when you said the dude with the kick pads, I don't even know who the hell you were talking about. I mean, I saw him like the first week he came out.
Right.
Ain't seen him again, right? Megan Bayne, I know exactly who that is, and I mean, all to be down. I watch enough AEW to get through these conversations on the podcast. That's why if you guys are paying attention, we don't really talk AEW no more because neither one of us are watching religiously. No, we're sorry.
Right.
It just is what it is. If you're watching religiously, call us, write us, let us know. We get you on the show. You can give her the AEW recap because we ain't gonna be able to do it. But I know who Megan Bayne is, and she ain't bad to look at. That girl, she's not bad in the ring. She ain't great.
So shout out.
She ain't Zeus.
So shout out to Wrestle Talk. Wrestle Talk, y'all carry me through these AEW dynamites and collisions, keeping me updated on things because I just can't bring myself to watch it. But I can sit down and watch the pay-per-views, even though sometimes you have to cut it off and go back and revisit the next day because they're 18 hours long.
Yeah, that's also. So not only am I not invested in any of the stories, I also ain't got 8 hours to put in on a Sunday. I work 8-hour days. I don't need to do 8 hours on Sunday watching something that I don't know what the hell I'm watching. That's what I do at work.
All right, let's go on to our topic. Bitch, please.
Yeah,
let's get on top.
Well, that's what we just came off of. When you asked me, did you watch the pay-per-view? What was the immediate answer I gave?
Bitch, please.
Exactly. So I was like, well, I can't help you on that one. So, but I know something about what we're going to talk about now. So let's go.
All right, so let's talk about Charlotte and Tiffy.
I know a whole lot about that. My goodness.
So this kind of, I would say, let me give you the breakdown, but that's exactly what happened. It broke down.
Oh, yeah.
These two ladies went off script faster. What do y'all call X-Pop back in the day? Quicker than a hiccup?
There you go. So people got on Tiffany's credit. They got on her case about it. She took it too far. Blah blah blah. Hey, forget all that. At this point, at this stage of the game, Charlotte's the vet. She's gonna control that segment one way or the other, regardless of what was written, what wasn't. And from all accounts, she went off script first.
True.
If you're going to do that, hey, the gloves are off at that point. Whatever happens, happens. You took it to this level. Now you take whatever comes out of it. So apparently from what we've read, she was pissed off backstage about how it went, some of the things that were said. Some of it was scrubbed from like the replay version. Forget all that. They gave you a script. They said, hey, here's where we're going. Where we're not going is let's refer to your, interview on Sherry Shepherd.
Right.
Let's what we're not going to do is talk about Kaiser. We'll talk about that later. We're definitely going to talk about that comment, but because what a waste of comment. But nonetheless, none of that. I guarantee none of that was scripted, right?
Nope.
But if you're going to take it there, hey, you got to be ready for come up. Especially what had happened a couple weeks ago, right? A couple of weeks ago, same thing happened.
Yep.
They did a sit down between the two of them. Rumor came out of that as if it wasn't obvious to anybody watching that the veteran of the situation went a little off script, to win into business for herself. And the rookie really didn't know how to handle it and got cooked. Yep. She got fried on that.
Charlotte took her lunch money.
Yeah, she came out looking bad from it throughout this whole I guess you want to call it a series of events. Throughout this whole series of events, Tiffy's came out of this bad on most ends, right?
True.
So going into WrestleMania, if there was a time in Chicago in front of a hell of a crowd in Chicago, if you want to get some get back, that's where you get your get back at. Yeah, when the fans are all on your side and they're willing to carry you through it, all she had to do was ride that wave and just throw a couple of good one-liners in there. Now, yeah, the whole thing exploded right in front of our faces, which was great.
It was fantastic.
Even
though it was cringy, it was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I remember looking around to the other fans and people were just sitting there with shocked looks on their faces, and I'm laughing. I'm like, that was great. I'm like, eat that. Get your get back. Get that receipt, girl.
The part of it that got me was Charlotte getting so flustered that she just gave up in the middle of the promo.
I mean, and that wasn't even a Tiffy thing. That was the fans.
That was the fans.
The fans refused to give her grace to get out what she needed to get out. They just said, you know what? Yeah, we appreciate your ability in the ring. We ain't trying to hear this right now. We can boo the hell out of you. We gonna boo you out of the building. And they literally booed her out the building.
14-time women's champ needs to take a page from the 16-time men's champ, as in John Cena, not her daddy, but John Cena. They would have started booing me like that, I'd have just stood there and held the mic up in the air.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But she backed up, went in the corner, and then let the mic go limp. Like, go ahead, y'all talk.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah, right. If they're taking over the show, the last thing you do is let that happen.
That's your stage.
Right.
That's your moment.
But if you let the fans overpower, I mean, basically they bullied her into submission and she went along with it. That's not what a queen does. Now, a queen would have took command of her court and said, throughout a y'all shut up or the Bulls suck, or, there were a lot of different ways they could have played an angle to get the fans to just boo and get out of it.
All she would have had to say was, the queen is speaking.
Exactly.
Something like that.
And they would have booed more, but you just play into it. Yeah, you lean into it a little bit.
What is Dominic doing? Come on.
Hell, this made Dominic. I mean, and I get it from Charlotte's perspective. She's made already, right? She doesn't need anything else to make her, but you can't break yourself either because, at some point you get too comfortable in that I'm the maid, I'm the chosen one and all that other, that you let yourself fall into these traps. Well, then when one of these traps happen, you still got to step up to the moment. If you miss it, that's how you fall off your crown. That's how you lose your throne. Your crown falls off your head and somebody else picks it up and runs with it.
So let's take a side path real quick. Let me throw this question out. Nepo babies.
Yep, they exist.
Cody and Charlotte.
The two biggest.
Nepo babies.
The two biggest of them all.
Which one stepped in and which one cowered?
Well, I mean, so if you listen to last week's episode, I don't know if you listened back to last week's episode. We also agreed that Cody got fried that day too. So Cody got cooked leading into that show too.
But he didn't give up on the promo.
No. I mean, but you also got to remember one thing: Cody's the face, right?
Right. But
so the fans weren't gonna bow out on him. There was no way he was gonna get booed like Charlotte got booed.
But here's where I'm going with the side street. Is Charlotte a made champ? Who made Charlotte? Did Charlotte make herself? Or did Vince McMahon make Charlotte?
Oh, I mean, Triple H ain't hurt. I mean, obviously,
true.
When Ric Flair's your role model, and you got, because he started putting her over in NXT when she was way not ready for all that. I think even she said herself she wasn't ready for all the accolades she was receiving in her first 4 or 5 years.
Now look, I ain't gonna sit over here and shit on Charlotte the whole episode.
We love Charlotte.
We love Charlotte. So look.
That's why I started before I even said this. The crowd we were there. The crowd appreciates her abilities,
but
we just weren't trying to hear her nonsense.
But what makes me look at her in a different light is the fact that she gave up on that promo, almost like it broke her. So I think
that
usually don't happen to somebody that's a 14-time champion.
Typically, no, but you got to admit she had a hard week, right? I mean,
she did have a hard.
So, and we, when we keep saying 14-time champion, we're likening to her to say Randy Orton or John Cena or Ric Flair. But those guys, when they were 14-time champs, even Triple H, all of them that are 14 times or more champions, they all did that when they were damn near 40.
Right.
Charlotte's mid-30s going through a whole lot of nonsense right now, right? A whole lot of personal life nonsense on top of coming back from a year-long injury.
Which makes me wonder if she came back too soon.
Well, she was gone over a year. I mean, there ain't no such thing as too soon, but I think what all transpired in the middle of it, she said on her interview, I don't know if you saw her actual sit-down interview, but I watched it.
I know there's some mental hurdles she's been jumping.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's everybody. And I trust me, I'm not trying to rip her apart by no means, but it's just like there was something about that when it went off the rails. Now, us fans sitting at home watching it, obviously, unless the dirt sheets or somebody else is going to report it went off the rails, we can hypothesize, but we'll never know for sure, right? So as we're sitting there watching it, though, like you saw Wade Barrett. Wade Barrett kind of stepped in between.
Yeah.
And when
I think he knew it might get physical.
Yeah, he knew like,
even at the end of it, I mean, the way Tiffany dipped out of the ring, she also might have thought it might get physical and said, hey, before we let this break down completely.
So let's get to that.
Let's get out of Dodge.
So let's get to that. What made Tiffany dip out of the ring like that?
Well, so Charlotte was charging her, on the way in. And after Tiffany got out of the ring and she was on her way to the back, that's where Charlotte basically buried herself. She John Cena'd herself in that moment because she whatever little bit of credibility she did have left, she lost it all at that moment. Yeah. So now, what I was going to say, what Charlotte said before on her interview, she said flat out, the things that happened in her personal life with her injury and all that, she really didn't deal with it. She said she kind of compartmentalized, went back to work and pushed through. So, yeah, there's some built-up stuff going on in there that I'm sure she'll need to deal with at some point in time, right? Okay, we get that.
Right.
But while you're crumbling in the ring, so that's the grace I give her. I know that going in. But in the match or in the promo battle, when you get to the one-on-one, after you get cooked, don't try and rescue it by throwing some off-the-cuff one-liner that is definitely not going to hit by any means. She threw out a line and said, well, why is Kaiser in my DMs? And I mean, so first we'll talk about what the internet had to say about that. Because at that stage of the game, all I saw was meme after meme after meme of the two women just standing next to each other and saying, if there's one, what does CM Punk say? Tell me what I'm telling lies. Damn it, Charlotte, I'm telling you, your ass lied that day. Yeah, and it was a dirty lie. It was a nasty lie. Get the hell out of my face. That man ain't in nobody's DMs. None. And there's a lot of divas and women and, legends and all that on the women's roster on WWE from old to young that he could be in the DMs of. He ain't in none of them. No. Trust me when I tell you, unless you can bring receipts, I ain't believing none of it. Nobody believed it. Tiffany didn't even acknowledge it. Nope. She walked off so damn smooth. And I think that actually made it worse.
That was the equivalent of the Samoa Joe nope.
Essentially, yeah. She walked off and completely no-sold. Like, oh, were you saying something? I didn't. Yeah, no. I guarantee there was no conversation had in the back. There was no, let me see your phone. None of that nonsense. So not a one.
The funny thing is I heard somebody compare that line that Charlotte said as the swinging punch from a boxer who's already knocked out and falling.
Yeah, as you're going down.
Just going down. Last shot. I'm going down swinging.
Went down swinging, but you didn't connect.
You didn't connect.
That punch, it hit air because nothing happened there.
Nope. So obviously Charlotte retaliated because of Tiffany's line of, what are you, 0-3 now in marriage?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I wasn't going to repeat the line because,
she kind of hit her below the belt.
Well, no, she hit her with reality. It is what it is. I mean, hell, so
she bottled reality up.
Yeah.
Put a bow on it.
Right, smacked her right in the face with it. Yeah, she made her face it dead to the world for everybody to see.
No.
Now, to her credit, now I did think at some point she may have confused Kaiser with Corey Graves because he may be in her DMs because that may add up.
Maybe,
but that might be confusion too. So he might have just looked on the roster and be like, oh, there
she is.
Right. Nope, then he was like, person. Oh hell, wait, you're not Ella. Right. He's like, he saw a C on the locker room and just went for it. So yeah, he may, but that's only by accident. And not to say that, I'm sure there's plenty of men in Charlotte's DMs. I'm sure she got her pick of the litter out there, but Kaiser ain't on that list.
No.
So she also may have confused him with Da Vinci, or maybe she was thinking about him because Kaiser ain't in them DMs. Like you said, that was a shot that didn't hit. Shouldn't have said it. Made yourself look worse. Stop. Stay on script going forward. Don't come for somebody who didn't come for you. That's what they say in the street nowadays. Don't come for me if I didn't come for you. And she started the whole off script thing, and then she had to take her medicine for it. Kate Sayers all the well no good, whatnot. Hopefully they don't do it this Friday. Hopefully they stick to the script, do what they're supposed to do, promote the match. Unfortunately, how do you think this is going to play on to the match itself?
So that's what I was about to get into. Look, we know the build up to this match has been cringe at best, right? It's been weird. It's been all over the place. I hope it translates better in the ring. I really hope that we get, I want to see two things happen in the ring with Charlotte and Tiff. And both of them involve Tiffany. I want to see Tiffany go apeshit crazy, just like she did when she jumped off of that entrance and did the swanton.
Yeah, I can see that.
I want to see some crazy stuff come from Tiffany against Charlotte because I think that's what it's going to take to get over Charlotte Flair.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to see, I doubt happens, but I would love to see it. We've never seen a counter to the figure eight. I would love to see Tiffany Stratton counter the figure eight somehow.
That would be good. I mean, I'm guaranteeing somebody's listening over there. So y'all got a couple weeks still to pull up a counter. I mean, I don't know what the hell that counter would be.
Do I think Tiffany's losing? Unfortunately, yeah, I do.
So I did until that promo happened. I'll be completely honest. I was
really,
I was sold on.
So you think Tiffany's going to retain?
I think she got herself over enough to retain. I think at this stage of the game, going into it, especially when she got bodied 2 weeks ago, on SmackDown, I was like, oh, well, she's got to lose now because she's coming across so weak in this whole thing. There ain't no, I mean, you don't want the underdog to win that damn much, and you don't want your women's champion to be an underdog this damn bad. But I think the way the crowd got behind her and the way she handled herself, if she stays on that trend, I do think she wins at this point just because there's no benefit in putting the title on Charlotte for a 15th time. I mean, there's zero benefit of it. First of all, you're focused on the whole story of John Cena breaking the record, right?
True.
So that's happening that weekend. It's all tied into Ric Flair, even though he won't be there. By his admission, his AEW contract, which I thought had been expired, but apparently he still has one, won't allow him to be involved in WrestleMania by his words. So he won't be there, but he's still going to be referenced. He's still going to be brought up. And the last thing you want to do is convolute all of that with Cena and Flair and breaking the title with Charlotte, being one way from tying those guys. I mean, all that does is cause more mass confusion around a confusing-ass situation. And I feel like that's just too much. And that's Tony Khan level booking there. We don't do that. She can win her 15th, 16th, 17th, brahaha. She's got 10 more years left under her belt. Cena's got 10 more months. We don't need to convolute his breaking the record or possibility of breaking the record with Charlotte getting one step closer.
So
push that out.
So what do you do with Charlotte if she loses?
I mean, hell, every year, same thing you do with Roman when he loses at this point. Charlotte's the equivalent of the female Roman at this point. If she loses, she disappears for a few months. She's off until SummerSlam. Well, why not?
Segue into where I was getting ready to go. What I would do with Charlotte.
We do this show together. We know what we're talking about here.
What I would do with Charlotte, gimmick change.
They've tried that multiple times. It never works.
Well, they've not tried a gimmick change under this regime. It's always been under the Vince regime.
Well, I don't know. When she came back, they tried to make her a face.
No.
That failed. Then she leaned into heel.
Quit trying to make her a face.
That's the only gimmick change they got for
sure. No.
Well, you want to see her be a gritty, hard worker or something like that?
Drop the queen gimmick.
She's a Nepo baby. Again, that's all she's got. At this point now, you started the segment with her being a Nepo baby.
But
you can't get away from that now.
If I'm going to change her gimmick, I'm going to full on AJ Styles. I'm going to go from where AJ Styles.
Crow?
No, just AJ Styles, where he was a happy-go-lucky in TNA, and then he was the lone wolf. Turn Charlotte into something like that. Let her be heel, but let her be a vicious heel, but not in a way of like just vicious in the ring. I mean, like vicious in every way possible. Like just attacking people for no reason, just to do it.
So I get where you're going with it. I get the concept of it, but you got to look at how Charlotte carries herself out of the ring. I mean, she's heels, she's dresses, she's fancy clothes and all that. You can't make that kind of character gritty.
I'm telling you though, what she's doing right now is not going to hit with the fans much longer. It's not going to hit with the fans much longer.
I don't know. I mean, so here's why I'll say it. Here's why I'll say that can be turned.
Even Rich
if she puts on a 5-star match in the ring, they'll forget about all that out of the ring stuff. We haven't seen enough of Charlotte in the ring.
Maybe.
I mean, short of the Rumble and then a couple things here or there, we've seen some of that, but we haven't seen Charlotte go in the ring like she can go. I feel like if she gets in the ring and she puts on a classic, all that nonsense goes to the side. They fall back in love with her again. What I would like to see is I'd like to finally see them cash in on her and Jade Cargill, bumping into each other somewhere down the road. Something like that could carry us through the summer, which would keep both of them out of the ring because they're going to do more talking than wrestling, thank God. But nonetheless, it would be interesting enough that it could carry us to SummerSlam. But I think they lean more to the way of Charlotte. If she doesn't win, she's gone for a while. She's out until June, July.
I just know that both Jade and Charlotte are known heavily to go off script at times. I don't know how they rein both of them in if they put them in a program together. I want to see it happen. But I just think it's going to be more cringy than what's happening right now between her and Tiff.
Well, so I think the difference between those two is apparently while Jade was quote unquote injured and Charlotte was injured, like legit injured, apparently they worked out a lot together. They worked off of each other, iron sharpens iron, stuff like that. So from my take on that is if they did all that kind of working out together, they must have developed some kind of friendship, right? True. So if they are friends outside of the ring, it might be easier to help rein some of that craziness in because they're out there trying to get to the same premise.
Nay, I say, we've been down that road before with Charlotte and Becky.
Yeah, but they had already dissolved that friendship by the time they got to that point. I mean, that was known. Everybody knew that, WWE played into, their best friends and blah, blah. Everybody and their brother said these two girls don't really talk. I mean, they were shooting for that number one spot. You're not going to be your best friend. Austin and Rock were great friends during the Attitude Era, but that competitive edge played a part, whereas, Stone Cold had to play politics, and he had to politic his way into some things here and there.
Politics.
Yeah, and I don't think Jade is going to play politics at this point. I don't think she's anywhere near the stage of her career where she can play politics in the back because, at this stage, she's an attraction. What more do you need out of an attraction? You give her a win, you give her some loss. They finally gave her a loss. She's Goldberg. Goldberg politic for money, but Goldberg didn't politic for wins and losses. I don't think Jade's politicking for wins and losses. I feel like she's like, hey, whatever, just keep them checks rolling in.
So we got to continue on to our second match we was going to talk about, though, real quick. We got to talk about Io Sky standing in the middle of the ring hollering, bitch, please. She feels like she's being overlooked. She's being pie-faced every damn episode of SmackDown, Raw, everything in between.
Which that's getting so old.
That
was cool the first 2 weeks I got it. But we're 5 weeks into this build and we're still pie-facing little Io. Come on now. We don't have nothing better. Slap her in the mouth or, knock her out or throw her over the top rope. Do something. You can't just push her off like the little brother or little sister anymore. Right? That's old now.
So what are your thoughts on this match? What are we thinking?
So I feel like you got three more than capable workers. I feel like it's going to be visually a great match. I don't know if I definitely don't see Io winning, right? I feel like she was only put in this match to take the fall. Somebody's got to get their shoulders put down for three. I really haven't decided yet whether it's going to be Bianca or Rhea. I feel like they're so even keel right now. I feel like they're, chasing that same brass ring, but I feel like they're both inches away from it. It's just going to be interesting to see who grabs it first.
If I'm honest, I want to see Io retain.
Yeah.
If I'm honest.
People in hell want ice water.
So here's why I want to see Io retain. I am a consummate sucker for the underdog. And she is the damn underdog. Even though she's coming into this match as the champ, she's the underdog in this match.
She's something like that. But again, I think she's filler. And I like Io. Don't get me wrong. And they couldn't have picked a better filler because Io can go. She can. Everything she's going to do in the ring is going to look good. That drop kick she hit Rhea with on Monday's Raw. I thought she put Rhea out of the match because it looked like Rhea broke her face on Bianca's shoulder after that drop kick. And I'm like, well, now we're back down to a one-on-one again. So we've twisted, turned, and figure-eighted our way into a three-way dance. Which I don't know why we did the last 3 weeks when Rhea signed the contract. If we were just going to get there anyway, why didn't we just let that stick, right?
True. So let me point this out real quick, though. WWE, would you say it's a fair shake that the WWE is really paying attention to their fans and listening to the voice of the fan they may not be catering to the fan, but do you feel like that they are really taking the fan's perspective into account of the booking right now?
To a point, yeah.
To a point.
Yeah, so like top level stuff like Cena, Cody, no, because you can't. I mean, that's a delicate story that you don't need outside input. You see what happened last year when they allowed outside input to dictate what happened. It went off the rails, and I'm still not completely sold that they fixed that the correct way. We'll never know. I mean, what has happened, and what we're dealing with is what we got.
Right.
It wasn't bad, so it isn't like we had a year worth of crap because of it. But I feel like had we played it the right way last year and it parlayed itself into what it could have been this year, I feel like it could have just been bigger. But that's my opinion. I mean, other people might think, Cena and Cody is going to be the biggest thing, the biggest thing since Rock and Roman. And they might have a damn good point with that. That probably would have been a good part 2 of the whole passing the torch type thing had they done it with Rock and Roman last year. We didn't, though. We fumbled the bag on that. So, now as we sit, here's where we are, right? So I do appreciate that they're not interjecting the fans' input into that, the whole CM Punk thing, all their top line stories. At this point, yeah, keep the fans out, right? Stick with what you're doing, adjust if you have to. But if you don't have to, don't create a situation where you must. But in the mid-card and the women's and stuff like that, yeah, I do think they're listening to what the fans have to say, and I think it's great. I think it helps the characters turn into what they need to become instead of waiting for them to get picked by the upper echelon of the brass.
So I think right now there's a 70-30 dynamic of 30% they're listening to the fans' input. I kind of think that they're trying to pay attention to what's going on, obviously, on X. They're following social media. They're following social media influencers. They're kind of doing all kinds of things to give the fans the feeling of, hey, my if I go here and cheer this person, my cheer matters. Yeah. So they're trying to give them that aspect. Have you listened to the crowd when EO is on the screen? Have you listened to the crowd?
Yeah, I mean they get hyped because she's electric in the ring, and that's.
I really think this might be the one time where, when we look at it, I really think they're going to let EO get paid off and keep this belt, because I think you're going to get a program coming after this where you've got Bianca versus Rhea. And it would be the stance of, I'd have won the damn match if you wasn't in there.
Yeah, they could do that.
And they're going to let that go until potentially Backlash.
Right, yeah.
I see Bianca versus Rhea for a number 1 contendership at Backlash. And then whoever comes out of that, I think they'll let EO ride the summer with the belt. So SummerSlam, they would change it to whoever comes out of the Bianca Rhea situation.
Yeah, and like I said, I like the concept of it. I just don't like the execution of it. You don't put you put Rhea in the match. After her historical title run, that she only lost by injury, won back, and then just lost on a whim just to kind of convolute this match. And then you take Bianca, who had to fight through all the drama she had with her other girls going on.
See, I don't think that drama's paid off yet either.
No, definitely not. But that's kind of happening on the other show, right? That's happening on SmackDown, and Bianca's more adjusted to Raw right now, to process this Raw belt.
Because what if my scenario plays out and it is Bianca versus Rhea at Backlash, and Naomi cost Bianca the match? Rhea goes on into a program with EO, and then you get a whole Naomi-Bianca feud going.
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to get there, because I think Jade's going to put Naomi down at WrestleMania. Like, there's no way you think Naomi's going to win that match, right?
No, Naomi's not going to win that match.
Okay, so...
But I don't think that beef is squashed either. Even after that match, I don't think that beef is squashed.
Not between those two women. Now, I could see Jade and Naomi work through the whole summer, right? But at this point, I think they've severed Bianca away from it enough that if Naomi loses to Jade, there's no way that she could come after the higher ranking wrestler. After, if you lose to somebody, you fall down the ranks. You don't promote up. So I just don't see her losing at WrestleMania and then saying, oh, well, I lost to the one girl, with the least amount of ring experience. Now I'm going to go take on the longest reigning women's champ, the first multi-time, person of color, female of color champ. I don't think she graduates up to Bianca after losing the feud to Jade. So I feel like they have to let Jade and Naomi kind of work through the summer, just to kind of hone Jade's craft a little bit more.
Do we get a cage match maybe between Jade?
Yeah, there could be a blow off somewhere down the road, but I feel like they stay together. Those two are going to be married together for a minute because Naomi's only going to make Jade better, right? Like she won't get any worse wrestling and experience Naomi, but I feel like that with Bianca won't pay off until long time down the road. I'm talking like Survivor Series time before you see Bianca get involved in that again. So kind of as we're talking it through, if Io wins, on your scenario, if Io wins and Bianca and Jade go to wrestle, at Backlash and through the summer, what does Io do? I mean, there's no one, they've built up no one left for her, so there's nothing left to do if she wins.
They're pointing towards Bailey making a run for some type of belt. Bailey, you can tell.
What, bitch?
Yeah.
Bitch,
there's also a returning Becky Lynch somewhere.
Maybe. And I was thinking that if Becky Lynch comes back, then that's the Io story right there. She can walk right into that. But I haven't heard hide nor hair of Becky Lynch coming back.
There's potentially returning of an Asuka. There's a potential promotion for Julia to the main roster. Julia versus Io, that's a banger.
So that would definitely be a great match, but Io just got wrapped up in a new storyline on NXT last night, so she's gonna have to stay at NXT for at least.
About Julia did?
Yeah. She just started kicked off a new storyline last night.
Her and Stephanie Vaquero are about to they're about to rock the NXT.
Yeah, they just started that last night, and I feel like that ain't gonna sum up in 2 weeks at Stand and Deliver. I think that's gonna have to go a little bit longer. So I don't think we get her in the summer on the main roster yet. But, I mean, to your point, there are a lot of women in NXT that are ready to graduate up. So there is new talent that's coming.
NXT is jacked and stacked when it comes to women's talent.
They are packed. They're packed and racked and everything else we can come up with that rhymes with that. But, yeah, they're heavy. They're locked and loaded down there.
Also, shout out Jordan Grace.
I mean, there's Jordan Grace down there. She's ready.
Jordan, be careful. Jordan, you hit that floor hard last night. Up at dive.
Yeah, a little bit.
The ropes don't play.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, in TNA, they probably had a little more give over there. But yeah, welcome to the big leagues.
All right, we got to wrap this episode up. But man, whole episode to the ladies. I like that.
We got to give them their due.
I like that.
WrestleMania season, we got some hot storylines here. Let's live it up.
So listen, if you're out there listening to this episode, you want to comment on our social media platforms, please do. Reach out there, drop us a line, tell us what you're thinking. Tell us about Charlotte Tiff. Who you think's going to win? Do you think, Tiffany deserves to retain, or the queen is going to take her rightful place as the 15-time champ? Let us know. But with that, everybody, we appreciate what you do, and we bid you adieu.
Peace. Now, I'm in Charlotte's DMs, though, right? I mean,
today's podcast was produced by SBP. You can find our podcast on all major podcast platforms. Also, connect with us on our social media accounts. Search for The Bookers Alliance on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X.